and the Daily Wire have sunk to a new low, but his ignorant audience thinks that his new campaign encouraging President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, he's the police officer who was blamed for George Floyd's overdose. His ignorant audience not aware of the incredible gatekeeping that the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro engages in.
Let's talk about it. Mark Dice, one of my favorites. Good to do a react to him. Haven't done one in a while. He's a very, very talented, funny streamer. He's going to get in on, I like to call him the tiny hats, but when we talk about Ben Shapiro, his hat is not as tiny as the rest of them. Why is that? Can somebody answer that for me? Why is the Daily Wire champion this at this moment? I'm going to tell you why. Spoiler alert. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to go in on them, but at the end of the day, it's weird to say Daily Wire is actually right. Let's get back to Mark Dice, Ben Shapiro, everyone. Matt Walsh is involved. Let's go.
Thinks that is a great idea, that Ben Shapiro is very brave for taking on such a controversial position. But if you understand what it is that they're actually doing, you realize that this is a new low in conservative media. Stay tuned for this because, as Paul Harvey used to say, wait until you hear the rest of the story. And subscribe to my channel for new.
This is Mark Dice. Subscribe to his channel. Help this brother out. He does some great work.
A planned campaign that they launched last week with an accompanying website, pardonderek.com, which we'll look at closely in a moment.
President Trump should, in fact, pardon Derek Chauvin. As I say, we will be covering this pretty extensively in the coming weeks. Right now, you should go to pardonderek.com and sign our petition asking President Trump to grant justice to Officer.
Ben Shapiro doesn't even sound authentic here. I've seen Ben Shapiro when he's passionate about a topic. Look at the body language. He just looks like, I got to do this. Yeah, I know why. Just some games we're playing.
Derek Chauvin. That is pardon, P-A-R-D-O-N, Derek.com, P-A-R-D-O-N-D-E-R-E-K.com.
Ben Shapiro is a Harvard-educated lawyer, and he, of all people, knows that President Trump can't get Derek Chauvin out of prison because he was convicted on state murder charges. He was convicted on federal civil rights violations as well, which President Trump couldn't pardon those, but he still isn't going to get out of prison. But little Ben is giving the impression that Derek Chauvin could just be set free.
So I'll disagree a little bit with Mark Dice there. Yeah, I think that might be it, but most of the people paying attention to this know that, believe it or not. I think probably 50% of the people who are following the Daily Wire and following this story and listening to Mark Dice, maybe even more, understand, yeah, there's state and federal charges. That's not really why I think they're doing it. I'll get to that in a second.
He just walked right out of prison, just like the Proud Boys, who deserve to all be set free. And again, this wasn't just a comment that he made off the top of his head. This is part of a campaign with their new website, pardonderek.com, which then leads you to the Daily Wire's website, where it has this note here, which says, we encourage you, President Trump, to pardon Officer Derek Chauvin. Sign the petition over here.
Email.
And then
email capture is very big if you're into internet stuff.
Fine print right there you can read. It says, by clicking here, you consent to receive emails featuring news and special offers from the Daily Wire and our sponsors. So this is literally nothing more than a publicity stunt for the Daily Wire to increase their email list so that they can spam people, encouraging them to become paid members for the Daily Wire Plus, and to shill all of their products like their proprietary Jeremy's razors and the Daily Wire chocolate bars. That is the face of a lying devil. It would be one thing if President Trump actually could get Derek Chauvin out of prison, but again, he can't. Ben knows that. If Ben Shapiro wanted to reach the President of the United States for any reason, all he would have to do is just send a text message or pick up the phone and call any of the number of senators or members of the House of Representatives whose personal cell phone number he has. Last week, he was Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's guest at the joint address to Congress. That's how well connected Ben is to the power structure. And the Daily Wire is now running this pardonderek.com scam as an ad on their shows.
Democrats are on the run, and we're going to get to just why in a moment. First, the Daily Wire continues our fight, as you know, on this show, we've been calling for the pardon of Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was railroaded.
Yes, we know that. In fact, we knew that the day that the video went public because it was clear that he was having a medical issue. But at the time, Little Ben threw Derek Chauvin under the bus, posting on Twitter that he just returned from a 2-day Jewish holiday and half the country is on fire. We all agree, he says, on George Floyd, which is why a bad cop is now under arrest. He went on to say that the government has one primary function: to prevent the violation of rights to life and liberty. A police officer destroyed George Floyd's rights. He did at least condemn the rioting and the looting, saying, "You're not stealing that TV to honor George Floyd or protest police brutality. You're stealing that TV because you're a POS. And yes, of course, the officers plural, in that video should be prosecuted to the full extent of their law breaking. What laws did they break, Ben? This is the same guy who condemned cartoonist Scott Adams, calling him a racist a dozen times because he simply said that he prefers to live in a white neighborhood with fellow white people.
Just to rewind for a second, Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, he said some racist stuff, which of course is indeed racist. What he said was in fact racist. You can fully acknowledge Scott Adams' racism and still also recognize that the media would be totally fine with Scott Adams' racism.
This is Ben Shapiro. He's supposed to be on the right.
If it was directed in precise reverse at white people. In the United States, if you direct racism against black Americans, that of course is verboten. It's very bad, and you'll have your career ended.
Mark Dice's face is hilarious if you're watching the video.
And there's a strong case that ought to be the case because racism is bad.
Strong evidence, he says, that Scott Adams should have had his career destroyed, which of course it was. His syndicator canceled his syndication deal, and he lost a bunch of other sponsors. And his career as one of the most popular syndicated comics in American history was destroyed, just like Ben wanted. The same Ben Shapiro who threw a hissy fit after Tucker Carlson interviewed Alex Jones on his new podcast once he became independent after getting fired from Fox News, which then ultimately led to Elon Musk finally restoring Alex's account. You may recall that I listed all the evidence of why Alex was actually banned. Elon responded to my post personally and said, "This is correct," and then restored his account. That made Ben very upset.
It's hard to find less of an Alex Jones fan than I am. The sort of soft peddling of Alex Jones that Tucker Carlson did on his X show the other day, I thought was absurd. Because frankly, I don't think Alex Jones is totally worth defending as a human being.
This is insane. This is the guy who Make America Great Again is now kind of championing. Ben Shapiro was not with Trump in 2016. All of a sudden, he's MAGA now. Let me tell you what's happening here with the Chauvin thing. It's the email stuff is dirty. It's another group, just like the Black Lives Matter group. They made money off of the backs of an unalived black man who was crazy, was hopped up on stuff, resisted arrest, and Chauvin obviously should be pardoned. It's the right thing to do. That's the takeaway. Matt Walsh brought that up. The timing is weird, though. What's really happening is people are crashing the hell out on social media on the hats. People are tired of the hats, and they're losing the battle on social media, just like they lost the battle on TikTok. They got it back. They're winning it back. They'll let Trump will let TikTok back on if they bend the knee and stop with the anti-hat stuff. But right now on X, they're trying to squell it. They banned a lot of people. You might not know them, but they were very influential on the app. They banned them, have not let them back on. And they're losing the battle of the hats versus America first. And what are they going to do? Well, I don't know. It's weird. X got hacked 2 days in a row. Okay, that's interesting. Or DDoS attack. And then now they bring out this narrative to try to muddy and cloud the waters. This is hopefully to get darker-skinned people to go up against lighter-skinned people who do not wear hats. When you're lighter-skinned, pale-skinned, maybe even beige-skinned people argue with darker-skinned people, the beige skin and darker skin, neither one wear the hats. When they're both arguing with each other, the funny thing is the people who have hats, and some hats bigger than others, they get to play on the sideline and laugh while they watch the shenanigans.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.